All right, good morning. So I think I have about 20 minutes to tell you a bit about Nexenta. The good news is no slides, just this. So I won't bore you with content. And we just dive right into kind of what's going on our side. From what I hear today, I mean, you've talked a lot about software-defined data center. You're talking about compute, talking about networking quite a bit. Obviously, I'm going to go and focus more about the storage side of things. So my name is Cornely. I currently lead product management at Nexenta. I've been at the company for a bit more than 2 months now. The company itself has been around for a while, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. I think before I jump into the topic here of software-defined data center, just take a step back and kind of look at the broader trends. You know, IDC is just releasing a new research report that they've worked on with EMC, and if you look at it, what they kind of describe is they talk about the digital universe, right, and the size of the amount of data that's out there. And so today, in 2014, they kind of size this at around 4.4 trillion gigabytes of data. And so it's nice to know. It's big, it's large, lots of data. But really what they're predicting is by 2020, which is just, what, 5-6 years from now, this would go to 44 trillion gigabytes. So in 5-6 years, you get a 10x growth of the amount of data just floating out there, coming from mainly us, mobility, new trends. One of the big trends driving this is what they refer to and what we all refer to as the Internet of Things. All right, so having devices that are internet connected, that generate data, sensor data, status data, and that get pulled into broader systems to be stored, but really more importantly, analyzed. Now, going back to the volume of data, right? We're talking about 4.4 trillion today, 44 trillion gigabytes in 2020. Out of all of that today, only 5% of the data is actually analyzed. Well, so you start thinking of, look, there's requirements being put on businesses with the way things are done, which affect both storage of data, volumes of data, and actually getting value out of that information. Right? It's not just about generating it and just dumping it. It's generate, store, analyze, get value out of it. So that's kind of the big, broader trends in the industry, right? And I think it fits what we see with our own customers. When we talk to CIOs in Nexenta, what we see kind of CIOs grappling with is big macro trends affecting their infrastructure, right? And those are social, mobile, Internet of Things, just dealing with these massive volumes of data coming their way, right? That they have to go store, protect, and eventually monetize, right? Get value out of that information. And so we see this, and it all again ties back to just dealing with the volumes. So if you take that same 44 trillion gigabytes of data in 2020 and bring it back to what's really going on year over year, right? And this is again same numbers from your favorite analyst, in this case IDC. Overall, right, volumes grow 60% year over year. And you can project this for the next 10 years. That prediction, 60% data volume have to grow. And so customers, enterprises have to figure out ways to go and actually store this data. Flip back to the budget side on any IT organization. Those are projected to grow only 2% year over year. So you get 60% on one side, 2% on the other. And that's from now on to the next 10 years. If you've been in storage, if you've been in IT, nothing's new there, right? You can look back the last 10 years and the same trends were in play. Storage has been growing 60% year over year, and budgets haven't been growing. In most cases, they've been shrinking. So what did customers do? Well, they shrunk the amount of money going to the rest of the IT environment to allocate more to storage. You just have to go and make room to go and actually pay for your storage because you just have to go and get data stored, right? And so what you did was you moved away from mainframe, you moved away from open systems, you moved to x86, you moved to virtualized, you consolidate your workloads, right? And you've done all of that. And so over the last 10 years, we've seen this massive push, which has been kind of the starting point for this software-defined data center, which was to go and virtualize workloads, put them on efficient, dense, highly utilized x86 infrastructure. Now you've done that, right? Now you look at enterprises and they are 80, 85%, 90% virtualized. They've done all this work. They've got the low-hanging fruit. Storage is still growing, 60% year over year, budget's 2%. And this is where you come to the point where something more fundamental has to change. Right? This is not about, can I go and make do? Can I squeeze something and find resources, find money to go and invest into my storage infrastructure? There's nothing left now. You have to go change the economics of storage. And so this is how you get to software-defined, right? And we talk to our customers, and they do want to get a software-defined enterprise, which is supported by a software-defined infrastructure, going from your end client, your mobile device, all the way back to your data center, which now also becomes software-defined data center. The key thing is, in our view at Nexenta, you can't get the full value of a software-defined data center without moving to software-defined storage. Okay? So compute, networking, storage. The key issue here is being agile, being flexible, being able to go and actually support your business, but really at core, changing the economics of storage, because things are just not sustainable. So this brings me to a different point. I think a lot of, as the term software-defined kind of takes hold and becomes a good marketing point, everybody talks about, I'm software-defined. My product is software-defined. I think it's important when you look at storage particularly to differentiate between what I would call software-based and software-defined. So look at products from your legacy vendors, your EMC, your NetApps, your IBMs, your HPs. Look at products from pretty much every new entrant in the business. In the end, there's nothing special about the hardware. It is truly based on industry-standard hardware, right? A lot of the innovation, a lot of the new features, the new functionality, the value comes from the software. But all these vendors are selling boxes. They are selling fully configured systems with very high margin. That is the premise of software-based systems. It's about technology. It's about vendors making a choice on where they're going to go invest, right? Where they're going to go innovate, and then delivering systems the same way they've been delivering systems to your customers and yourself for the past 15, 20 years, right? Charging, in the case of storage, 60% plus margin. That is software-based. That's pretty much everybody in the industry. On the other side, you have what we would call software-defined, okay? And so, yes, it is software. It is very much the same type of innovation. It's also about flexibility, agility, scalability, supporting all the features, being able to go and support all protocols, fit into any ecosystem. But, and more importantly, it's also about changing the business model. It's about affecting that cost equation, right? It's about helping customers get away from margin extraction that you get from your current storage vendors. And this is critical because at core, we can talk about technology all we want, right? We always go back to, am I solving a true business problem? In the case of software-defined storage, the way Nexenta approaches it, right, the way very few vendors actually are looking at the problem, it is about enabling technology things, enabling new applications, but at core, changing the economics, right? And allowing customers to go and save, upwards of 50% on their storage cost. By being truly software-based, no hardware, you run this on any industry standard hardware that's certified, and now you get the hardware vendors to compete for your business. Software-based on one side, technology, software-defined on the other, technology and business model. And so this is what Nexenta has been doing for a number of years now. The company is based here in Santa Clara in Silicon Valley. We actually started selling products back in 2008, right? And back then we came out to the market with our first Nexenta Store product, open source based, ZFS based, right? So we've got a very strong ZFS core in the company, which is a Sun file system. We started back in 2008. The core value props, 100% software, total freedom for our customers, and what our CEO likes to say, all love. Okay, we are very close with our customers. We take care of them. We make sure we actually fit their requirements and get them going on a new transformation of their storage infrastructure. The product actually got going pretty quickly, and for the last few years, we've seen continued very fast growth. As of today, Nexenta stands around with 5,000 customer deployments. That's a large amount for a small company. 5,000 customer deployments, that's about 1 exabyte of capacity under management. Think about it. Small startup, few hundred people here, 1 exabyte of capacity under management, all in a few years. And so all of that can be done just because we are 100% software and we leverage other partners, other hardware to go and get these things deployed to customers. We sell actually to service providers, government, Healthcare and media entertainment are big verticals for us, right? So a lot of them are going to us for a couple of reasons. One of them is changing the cost economics. The other one is high performance, old protocols, and able to go and support very large scale configurations. I'll give you an example on a service provider that's a reference customer for us that is actually leveraging Nexenta software to go and hit the right economics as they go and deliver services that compete against the Amazon and Google services out there. That customer is Korea Telecom, KT, based in Korea. They actually currently are running 130 petabytes of storage, all on Nexenta. And so in their environment, they're running some systems that are all disk-based, large capacity-based, supporting a cloud-stack environment. They're running systems that are hybrid, that combine SSD and disk, and other systems that are all SSD, right, for high-performance transactional workloads. Again, one software layer, different hardware configurations, all industry standard, right? At the end of the day, they standardize on the software layer, they standardize on the APIs, on the services, and then they go and get hardware vendors to compete for their business. And that's how they're able to go and actually run infrastructure that allows them to be cheaper than what you can get today from Amazon or Google. All using our software, right? And having a truly software-defined approach to storage. So that's for the company. In terms of products today, the way we kind of look at things, we started back in 2008 with our main flagship product, Nexenta Store. Nexenta Store was based on what was then Open Solaris and ZFS. We've evolved all these technologies over time. But what it gives you effectively is software that allows you to convert industry standard hardware into highly available, highly resilient, high performance, full feature storage systems. A Nexenta Store cluster allows you to scale from tens of terabytes to petabyte configuration and deliver services that scale from iSCSI and Fiber Channel to NFS, very high performance NFS, and your classic SMB and CIFS protocol for your Windows environments. All of that as software only on industry standard hardware that gives you your core features: inline data reduction, snapshots, clone, replication, data protection built in at any scale. What this allows customers to do is basically take this technology and bring it into the enterprise to replace and basically complement growth in those tier 3, tier 2 workloads. Because again, if you think of the numbers I gave you earlier, right, the digital universe growing to 44 trillion gigabytes over the next 5-6 years, I mean, this is not your tier 0 data sets, right? A lot of it is going to be very large amounts of unstructured data that you have to store and that you have to analyze, right? So this is all unstructured, all large scale, it's all net new. It's all things that at core do not justify the economics of your legacy storage vendors. So Nexenta Store on one side. Nexenta Store is actually delivered to customers via partners. So even though we change the economics, the way a customer actually buys those systems is familiar. They actually buy a system from a partner. We're 100% channel-based, right? We have two-tier model. And so we work with partners that will go and leverage our software, industry standard hardware, and deliver fully configured systems back to the customers. One of the big ways we actually are able to scale with this is by using what we refer to as reference architectures. All right, so we define reference architectures that have different metrics on scale, capacity, and performance, and work with those on partners and have those be pitched to customers that actually buy the complete systems. One of our top OEM right now is Dell. You actually can go and leverage, Dell actually offers single SKUs that combine the entire configuration of hardware with Nexenta software. All right, so from a business model, the way customers actually buy the product, similar to buying from any storage vendor. From a cost perspective, very different. From a performance perspective and flexibility, very, very different. All right, you buy a license for software, license is perpetual, and then you pay for software maintenance over time. That's on Nexenta Store. We have a second product called Nexenta Connect. And so these products are more targeted to ecosystems, right? Right now, a lot of the Connect portfolio is really focused on solving VDI challenges. If you look at large-scale VDI deployments, right, which again fit very much the software-defined architectures in terms of serving client computing environments through the data center, a lot of them actually start causing problems and challenges on back-end shared storage. It's great for flash vendors, right? I'm breaking legacy storage, I need to go get new storage, I need to go get faster storage. Well, a different way of doing things is actually going with a software-defined approach and using smart software running on the hypervisor to optimize your I/O flows and avoid having to go and upgrade so much of the backend storage. So we're getting great traction with these products. Nexenta Connect for View Edition being the lead one, where we deploy just software on the hypervisor that allows you to go and actually take advantage of caching on the host, solve all those I/Os, increase density, and improve end-user performance. On average, what we see is by deploying the software, we're able to go and actually get customers to pack more desktops on the same infrastructure, 75% more desktops on the same infrastructure, while improving end-user service time by a factor of 10x. So your response time to your applications as a consumer of a desktop is 10x faster. And so we're doing this for VMware, we're doing this for Citrix, expanding to Hyper-V over the coming month. Nexenta Store on one side, software-defined storage for your enterprise applications, right? Your classic block file use cases. Nexenta Connect on the other, which is ecosystem-centric solutions, software only, that allow you to go and actually scale your current infrastructure and solve storage problems directly, just with software, extremely cost efficient. And then looking ahead, and a lot of it is being driven by our own existing service provider customers, is expanding to scale out architectures, delivering object configurations. And so this one project we're basically working on that we launch before the end of the year is called Nexenta Edge. Nexenta Edge is scale out object, taking a lot of the ZFS DNA that's in the company and applying it to cloud scale. All right, so this is really about having a brand new architecture that allows us to go and support now not just hundreds of terabytes and petabyte configuration, but going to tens of petabytes and hundreds of petabytes configuration, all in one system, scale out, hyperscale configuration that we start with on our classic service providers, but then expand to financials enterprise customers. And to wrap all this together in terms of management, we're working on something called Nexenta Fusion, which will give us a single pane of glass reporting and analytics on your Nexenta Store, Nexenta Connect, Nexenta Edge portfolio. So what you get there is one company working on software approaches to solving storage challenges. In our view, you can't truly get the benefits of software-defined data center without first looking at software-defined storage. Because at the end of the day, the only reason why you have all this infrastructure, all those applications, is because you're storing, manipulating, computing, and analyzing data. That data has to live somewhere. And that place ends up being your storage backend. If you don't change the economics of your storage backend, you're going to be limited in terms of what you can do for the rest of your infrastructure. And so when we look at this from the Nexenta perspective, we look at software-defined storage as solving two problems. One is technology, fitting with the ecosystem, supporting VMware, supporting Cloud Stack, OpenStack, Hyper-V, having those seamless points of integration, right? Being able to be flexible, give you options, be agile. Those are all technology points. There's lots of ways to go and address them. But the other part of the equation, which is the one that actually enables you to go and move forward with your transformation of your infrastructure, is a business one. It's changing the economics of storage. Very few companies actually are able to do this today. Very few companies actually approach this way today. And so as a result, storage today remains the only place in IT where vendors are able to go and extract 60% plus margins from their customers. There is no other place where you sell products and hardware where you get those type of margins. And if you're software defined, you actually are able to go and attack that problem. Now I close with one example of a customer that actually looked at our solutions and made a decision, and we just, to me, at least exemplified the shift that we're able to go deliver. That customer was looking at deploying a very large-scale VDI configuration, combine virtual server and virtual desktop configurations. They decided to standardize on the compute side on VMware. They tested different software solutions for storage. They looked at your EMC, NetApp. They ended up looking at us. And then they got it. And then they standardized on Nexenta Store software on the storage side. At that point, they had defined infrastructure. VMware on the compute side, Nexenta Store on the storage side. And then they went to hardware vendors and asked them to bid for the infrastructure. Something that you've all been able to do on the compute side for years, that these customers tried to go do on the storage side. And so they got Dell, they got HP, they got your favorite vendors to go and compete, to go sell them controllers and JBods that would in the end be managed by Nexenta Store. In that process, they completely changed the economics of the entire infrastructure, because they went where the cost was, which was storage, and they solved it by using our software to go and get hardware vendors to compete for their business, without having to go and change how they were planning to go and run the infrastructure. So when we look at this, and we look at this strategy that we have at Nexenta, we like to summarize it as is. No mess. Our goal in life is to put an end to massively expensive storage systems. We do this by being truly software-defined, by going after storage, which is a massive pain point, both in terms of complexity and cost for customers, and doing this both from a technology perspective, but also from a business model perspective. It's about changing the way customers procure storage. In a nutshell, it's about eliminating mess. Thank you for your time.
Thomas, thank you very much.